Hello and a very good morning. You're watching the Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha Television with me, Frank Pereira. Let's begin as always with the latest headlines. Parliament is set to witness more uproar today as opposition plans to intensify protests against government's land acquisition bill. Prime Minister remains firm, ruling out any rollback. BJP and PDP finalized deal to form the government in Jammu and Kashmir. PDP patron Mufti Mohammad Saeed set to begin his second stint as Chief Minister on Sunday. Death toll in swine flu cases inches closer to 900 across the country. Government concerned over rapid spread of the virus. And in the big relief to Greece, Eurozone backs its reform proposals to obtain 4-month extension of its bailout. First up in the bulletin, amid stiff opposition to the land acquisition bill, Prime Minister Narendra Modi has made it clear that there will be no going back. A united opposition as well as BJP's ally Shiv Sena have declared their opposition to the bill. But at the BJP parliamentary meet last evening, Modi said that there cannot be any rollback of the amendments to the law. He also urged party MPs to go to the people and explain that the new law was in their interest. The Prime Minister said that the bill will benefit farmers and that the amendments brought by his government were based on suggestions and demands made by Congress-ruled states and their chief ministers. Meanwhile, taking their political battle against land ordinance on the streets, top Congress leaders joined by members of prominent civil society organizations will hold a protest rally called Zameen Wapasi Andolan. The party has also attempted for convergence of farmers from across the country to raise their voice in opposition to the ordinance.
कुछ लोगों ने सुझाव भी दिया, वो सुझाव को भी ध्यान में रखेंगे। साथ ही साथ हमारा पार्टी का नेता लोग बाकी संगठनों से भी बातचीत कर रहे, वहां से भी फीडबैक देंगे और पार्लियामेंट में भी कह दिया हमने आज अन्य पॉलिटिकल पार्टी से भी बातचीत करेंगे। वो बातचीत करने के बाद जो फाइनल निर्णय करना वो निर्णय करके आगे बढ़ेंगे।
किसान चाहता है अपनी मर्जी से तो उसके ऊपर चर्चा हो सकती है। हमारी पार्टी ने हमेशा किसानों के हित की बात की।
Completely we revamped the act and that was in favor of farmers. But to help some corporate companies and industrialists, the new ordinance has been brought and we are going to oppose with tooth and nail. Taking the support from all the opposition parties.
Well, yesterday the government introduced the land acquisition amendment bill in the Lok Sabha despite opposition uproar. In response, the opposition parties walked out of the house, accusing the government of being anti-farmer and anti-poor. The BJP reiterated that it was ready to discuss the issue thoroughly, though the going looks tough, with ally Shiv Sena too voicing concerns. Here's more.
This was perhaps the first time in the 16th Lok Sabha that the opposition stood as one against the government. But amid the uproar, Rural Development Minister Birendra Singh introduced the Land Acquisition Amendment Bill in the House.
Madam, I beg to move for leave to introduce the right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition, rehabilitation and resettlement Amendment Bill 2015.
Opposing this, MPs of the Congress, left parties, Samajwadi Party, TRS, YSR Congress, BJD, Trinamool Congress and even the government's ally, the Swabhimani Shetkari Sangathan walked out of the house. The opposition claims this bill is anti-farmer and anti-poor.
तो ये जो एटीट्यूड है गवर्नमेंट का बुलडोज करने का, इसके खिलाफ आज किसान जो किसान वहाँ पर बहुत ये कर रहा है और किसान विरोधी बिल है और आज बाहर भी एजिटेशन चल रहा है, हर जगह एजिटेशन चल रहा है। ये उनका एटीट्यूड ठीक नहीं है, इसीलिए हम वॉकआउट करते हैं।
Then under Rule 72(1)
ऑर्डिनेंस को ये करना है।
I oppose the right to fair compensation and transparency in land acquisition, rehabilitation and resettlement amendment bill 2015. This is the most anti-farmer, anti-poor legislation possible.
किसान इस देश को मजबूत बनाता है, हमें रोटी देता है। वो किसान की जमीन छीन कर उसकी मर्जी के बगैर हम ये भूमि अधिग्रहण कानून को समर्थन नहीं दे सकते। अगर किसान चाहता है अपनी मर्जी से तो उसके ऊपर चर्चा हो सकती है।
Amending the bill, the government had brought an ordinance in which 5 more projects were exempt from the application of the bill. These include industrial corridors, PPP projects, rural infrastructure, affordable housing and the defence sector. The opposition argues that the passing of this version of the bill defeats the purpose of the original act.
There are two major issues that we are opposed to. The first major issue is the consent clause is being compromised. The consent clause giving the right to the landowners, to the farmers, at least 70% of the people who are supposed to give consent, then only the land was supposed to be acquired, it is being withdrawn.
The government in turn says it is ready to take into account the suggestions of the opposition. It has also accused the opposition of insulting the majority.
इसमें कोई किसी का कोई आपत्ति आई तो बहस के दौरान चर्चा करने के लिए सरकार तैयार है, मगर आरोप करना, राजनीति करना ये देश के हित में नहीं है, किसान के हित में नहीं है। हमारा सरकार किसान के हित को सबसे ज्यादा प्राथमिकता देने वाले हैं। ये सरकार किसान अनुकूल सरकार है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has told the BJP that there is no need to back off on the process on the proposed amendments. But in the same breath, he also said that the opposition's suggestions should be taken into account. The party has now formed an internal committee to create a strategy to tackle the issue. It's clear that the BJP is on the back foot on the land acquisition issue. Shyam Sundar's report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, a united opposition also cornered the government in the upper house yesterday on the ordinance promulgated to amend land acquisition rules. Non-NDA parties in the house labelled the ordinance as anti-farmer. Here's more.
Soon after obituary references and listed papers laid on the table in the Rajya Sabha, Congress's Anand Sharma raised the land acquisition bill.
Question is not of whether the ordinance has been issued.
Sharma slammed the government for taking the ordinance route, saying changes were being made to a law passed in 2013. The move, he said, violated a consensus between all parties at the time, including the BJP.
It has to be withdrawn. As of today, the law which was there, passed by both the houses of parliament, has been arbitrarily changed against the interest of the farmers, against the interest of the poor.
Finance Minister and Leader of the House Arun Jaitley stepped up in defence, pointing out the number of ordinances issued by previous governments. He rejected the anti-farmer jibe, claiming the amendment in fact benefited that section.
हमने हर कानून में उन 13 में भी जो अलग रखा था, ये कहा कि 4 गुना मुआवजा किसान को दिया जाए। हर एक जो अपवाद रखा है, उन पुराने 13 जो अपवाद यूपीए ने रखे थे उसके साथ, उससे ग्रामीण क्षेत्र को लाभ होने वाला है।
But the opposition were buying none of it. The opposition that's in a bigger majority here than in the Lok Sabha has lined up against the government's land ordinance. Cutting across party lines, leaders targeted the government on provisions of the land ordinance, even calling it a retrograde measure harking back to British rule.
ऐसा बदला कि अंग्रेजों का कानून के पीछे छूट गया। 120 बरस बाद हिंदुस्तान के किसानों का खेत और खलियान लेने का जो मामला है, इनके पास मैसिव मेजॉरिटी हो गई है कि ये बुलडोज और कुचलना चाहते हैं देश को।
उस भूमि अधिग्रहण विधेयक में तो जो किसानों के हित में जो शर्तें रखी गई थी, तो लेकिन दुख की बात यह है कि उन शर्तों को इस सरकार में तो उल्टा कर दिया गया।
बात करके उस पे भी बात करके रास्ता निकाला जा सकता था, लेकिन आपने उसको बाईपास किया।
Responding to objections raised by members, the finance minister promised discussions and consultations with all political parties on this issue.
Responding in the same spirit, I will convey his suggestion in a very positive manner to the minister concerned for appropriate action, where he suggested that the government must have discussions with all the concerned parties. I'll certainly convey.
All right.
The Congress has called for the ordinance to be suspended till consultations with all parties are complete. The government has held back on any such promise. In the Lok Sabha, the opposition staged a walkout. Opposition parties also staged protests outside Parliament. Vishal Dahiya's report for Rajya Sabha Television.
Moving on now, ending days of talks and speculation, the BJP and the PDP formally announced forming a coalition government in Jammu and Kashmir. The announcement was made after a meeting between the BJP President Amit Shah and the PDP's Mehbooba Mufti. The new government, led by PDP Chief Mufti Mohammad Saeed, is likely to be sworn in on the 1st of March.
More than 2 months after the state election results, Jammu and Kashmir is set to have a PDP-BJP government in place. Both parties sealed the deal on Tuesday evening, ending weeks of deliberations.
काफी चर्चा के बाद, काफी बैठकों के दौर के बाद एक कॉमन मिनिमम प्रोग्राम पर करीब सहमति हुई है और कुछ ही दिन में जम्मू कश्मीर को पीडीपी बीजेपी अलायंस की पॉपुलर गवर्नमेंट मिलेगी.
The announcement came soon after Amit Shah and Mehbooba Mufti met in New Delhi to give final touches to the common minimum program. Mufti termed the CMP as the agenda for alliance between both parties.
ये जो सरकार बनेगी ये खाली पावर शेयरिंग की बात नहीं है. It is about to win the hearts and minds of the people of Jammu and Kashmir और पूरे मुल्क को इसमें एक मौका है, एक अपॉर्चुनिटी है पूरे मुल्क के कि जो जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों में जो दूरियां हैं आपस में उसको मिटा के एक अच्छी, एक साफ सुथरी, करप्शन से साफ डेवलपमेंट के और पूरा जिससे पूरे इस स्टेट में, पूरे मुल्क में, पूरे खित्ते में शांति हो, ऐसी सरकार बनाने की हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं.
Details of the common minimum program, on the basis of which J&K will be governed, will be made public after PDP Chief Mufti Mohammad Saeed meets Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a day or two. But reports suggest that both sides have agreed to form a committee to go into the AFSPA issue and suggest areas where it can be revoked. AFSPA and Article 370 are two issues over which both parties have diametrically opposite views.
PDP and BJP are ideologically opposites, and they are like oil and water. So I don't really think they can mix well or mix at all. And I think that will have an impact, a negative impact on governance in J&K.
The new government in Jammu and Kashmir is likely to be sworn in on 1st March. PDP patron Mufti Mohammad Saeed will be Chief Minister for the second time. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, joining me for a chat this morning is senior journalist Mr. Rahul Jalali. Rahul, thank you for joining me on the program. And, let's talk about this agreement that has finally been reached between the PDP and the BJP as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. It took them 2 months, but they're finally there. Is this a popular government? Is this a government that is going to, deliver on the promises that it has made?
Well, on both counts, you've got to wait and see. Because popular government, yes, because if you look at it, these are two political parties who were antagonistic to each other before the elections. Both come from two different regions of the state. BJP's got a majority in Jammu, PDP's got a majority in Kashmir. So now they've joined together in an alliance, and as Mehbooba Mufti says, it's not just for making a government only, but also to give a new sort of shape to politics of Jammu and Kashmir. If I hope they succeed, it'll be good for the people of Kashmir in particular, and also sections of rural Jammu, which have been devastated by the floods, if you remember. So I think people are looking forward to a government in place, because there's been no government for a long time. So yes, their expectations are huge. So I think Mufti Mohammad Saeed, who's going to be the Chief Minister come Sunday, needs to be very careful.
Indeed. Both parties, the BJP and the PDP, have contrasting, views as far as the Armed Forces Special Powers Act is concerned, and also Article 370. So what is the middle path really that has been reached by these two parties?
Well, I think Article 370 was never a contentious issue, though the press made it out to be. Because if you remember that in their vision document, which the BJP had released before the elections, state assembly elections, Article 370 wasn't mentioned. So obviously there was a rethink within BJP on that. But when it came to the Armed Forces Special Powers Act, the PDP wanted a time frame for the removal of Armed Forces Special Powers Act, which the BJP, or rather the RSS, because look, the talks took place between PDP and the RSS, Ram Madhav representative there, and Hasib Drabu and Ram Madhav. These were the two main interlocutors. So there has been an adjustment of sorts. PDP has given up its insistence on the time frame for removal of AFSWA. Instead, they have won a minor victory because now in the common minimum program, if you call it that, the idea is that the ASPA removal would depend on the state government.
Yes.
They would gradually assess wherever the areas of Kashmir particularly and in Jammu, areas which are not disturbed, ASPA will be removed from that because you see, Armed Forces Special Powers Act applies only when the State Assembly declares a district disturbed under the District Disturbance Act. So if the State Assembly removes that from a particular district, then ASPA does not apply in that district. So I think that's the mechanism which will be adopted.
You know, can both the parties, the PDP and the BJP, go back to their respective vote banks and claim moral victory after what has happened?
Yes, because Article 370 is not on the agenda. So that is something which benefits PDP. PDP can definitely claim that ASPA, we've got them to climb down. It's now we are going to gradually do it. BJP can go to its agenda and say, look, the question of West Pakistani refugees, we brought it on the agenda because now it's a question of dealing with them on the humanitarian level. So these issues both have there. Again, PDP has won a major battle because they have brought talks with Pakistan and talks with Hurriyat, the separatists, on the agenda. So I have a feeling that PDP has a lot more to say about this common minimum program than BJP has.
All right, they have more seats as well as far as
exactly, they've got 28 and the other parties got 25. But I feel that, I hope that this alliance succeeds and delivers because people of Jammu and Kashmir really need a government in place which looks after them and looks after the crisis that they are undergoing.
Indeed.
I mean, solves the crisis.
Sure. All right. We'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much, Raj Jalali, for joining us on the program and putting things into perspective for us. It's time for a short break now, but coming up on the other side, record hike in states' share of central taxes to boost the exchequer. That and much more coming up. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
New government in New Delhi. New faces.
People are not investing because they are scared of your tax administration.
New thinking.
An auction process is a fair and good process.
We cannot have a one-size-fits-all reform policy.
For insights and perspective.
Judiciary should be more concerned about corruption within itself.
The Modi government slogan of "Achhe din aane wale hain." Soon the people's slogan will be "Hamare purane din lauta do."
The biggest show on economic policy. Watch State of the Economy.
Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the death toll in swine flu cases is inching towards 900 this year as the Health Ministry termed the rapid spread of the virus as a matter of concern. With 12 more casualties in Gujarat and 4 more deaths in Maharashtra since yesterday, the overall toll has gone up to 891 within the first 8 weeks of this year. The number of positive cases recorded across the country has also crossed 15,000. Speaking in the Rajya Sabha yesterday, Health Minister JP Nadda, however, assured that no efforts will be spared in effectively dealing with the situation. He said that the oseltamivir drug used during the pandemic in 2009-2010 remains effective for treatment even now.
I would assure the member and all the members that we are increasing our capacity so that the testing facilities are made more meaningful and see to it that spurious drugs are brought under control.
Moving on now, the centre has accepted the recommendations of the 14th Finance Commission for a record 10% increase in states' share in the union taxes. This will give an additional fund of close to 1.8 lakh crore rupees to the state's exchequer. Jammu and Kashmir will get the maximum grant of 60,000 crore rupees. Here's more.
Just 4 days before the government presents its annual budget, it has accepted a report that provides states with a record increase of 10 percentage points in their share of central or federal taxes. The share of the 29 states jumps from 32% to 42%, a record 10% increase. This is the single largest increase ever recommended, giving more power to states in determining how they spend this money.
The 14th Finance Commission, from amongst the divisible pools, has increased it substantially, and that from 32%, which was the 13th Finance Commission's recommendation, the share of the states in the divisible pool is 42%.
The jump will reduce the fiscal dependence of the state governments on the centre. In a letter to all chief ministers, Prime Minister underscored this, saying the move reaffirms his commitment to cooperative federalism.
States have to gradually become self-sufficient on the strength of their own revenues and what they get from the divisible pools. This entire system of discretionary payments and who to pay, this must completely end.
The Commission recommended a grants in aid of 48,906 crore rupees for 11 revenue deficit states for 2015-16. Jammu and Kashmir will get the maximum grant of about 60,000 crore rupees in 5-year period. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, it's time now to look at some of the other stories from across the country in our segment Nationwide. Home Secretary S. Jaishankar will travel to Pakistan on March 3rd, 7 months after India cancelled Foreign Secretary level talks. Jaishankar will hold discussions with his Pakistani counterpart Azaz Ahmad Chowdhury during the visit. Earlier this month, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke to his Pakistani counterpart Nawaz Sharif, after which it was announced that Jaishankar will visit Islamabad to push bilateral agenda. Security forces are engaged in a gun battle with militants in Shopian district in Jammu and Kashmir. Acting on a tip-off about the presence of 2 militants in the area, a joint team of army and police began a search operation in the area. During the search operations, the militants started firing, to which security personnel retaliated. No casualties have been reported so far. Maoists blew up a vehicle carrying CRPF personnel, killing 2 and injuring 10 others in Bihar's Gaya district last night. The attack took place when a CRPF unit was returning to their base after conducting a search operation. The Maoists had planted a landmine on the route taken by the security personnel. According to reports, the Maoists also fired at the personnel after the blast. Well, let's take a look now at what is lined up for the day in our segment, The Day Ahead. Social activist Anna Hazare will visit the Delhi Secretariat today for an interactive session with the Aam Aadmi Party ministers. Yesterday, Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal invited Anna Hazare to give a motivational talk to the MLAs and officials. Kejriwal shared the dais with the activist yesterday during the protest against the land ordinance at Jantar Mantar. Polls to 123 municipal councils in Punjab and 1 ward of Nagar Panchayat Bariwala will be held today. Nearly 28.50 lakh voters will exercise their franchise and decide the fate of 7,006 candidates who are in the fray. The first phase of the polls was held on the 22nd of February, while counting is scheduled on Feb 26th. A special court in Mumbai will pronounce the quantum of punishment to gangster Abu Salim after convicting him in the 1995 murder of builder Pradeep Jain. This is the first case in which Salim was convicted in India after he was deported in 2005. The Indian government had given an undertaking to Portugal that Salim will neither be given the capital punishment nor a sentence exceeding 25 years. A Jodhpur court will pronounce its judgment in an illegal arms case against Bollywood actor Salman Khan. The case filed under the Arms Act is an offshoot of the black buck poaching incident 16 years ago. The final arguments in the case had been completed on the 5th of February. Moving on to some international news now. Greece cleared a major hurdle in its ongoing battle to remain solvent. The Eurozone finance ministers approved a 4-month extension to its financial bailout, stating that the Greek proposals were a valid starting point. However, the other creditors, the European Central Bank and the IMF, conveyed skepticism over Greece's ability to live up to the terms of the new agreement. Fresh funding will not be released until Greece's proposals are approved in detail.
Major relief for Greece in securing a 4-month extension of its financial rescue. The Eurozone partners approved its reform plan. This came as Athens backed away from some proposed measures and promised that spending to alleviate social distress would not derail its budget. Finance ministers had discussed a Greek request for a 6-month extension that had been submitted on Thursday.
On the basis of basically, it was concluded that reform program or list of reforms presented by new Greek government is sufficient enough to start or to be a good starting point for a successful completion of the program.
The Eurogroup said the agreement was the first step in the process of rebuilding trust between Greece and its European creditors. With the announcement, the Greek stock market rose by nearly 10%, hitting a 3-month high. However, some opposition politicians expressed reservations about the deal.
Όλα είναι σε χειρότερο επίπεδο. Στην ίδια λογική και σε χειρότερο επίπεδο είναι και η σημερινή συμφωνία της κυβέρνησης που πάει τα πράγματα επίσης πίσω ακόμη και από το mail Χαρδούβελη.
Despite the announcement, IMF has said they lacked clear assurances in key areas. Greece's debt stands at more than 320 billion euros and its current 240 billion euro bailout expires on Saturday. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, British military personnel are to be deployed to Ukraine over the next few weeks to provide advice and training to government troops fighting Russian separatists. Around 75 UK troops will travel to Ukraine to help with medical intelligence, logistics and infantry skills. The announcement was made by British Prime Minister David Cameron as he delivered a warning to Russian President Vladimir Putin over his continued aggression in Eastern Europe. Cameron said that there would be deeply damaging consequences for all of Europe if the EU fails to stand up to Putin in Ukraine. He also argued for tougher sanctions against Moscow if Russian-backed militants in eastern Ukraine fail to observe the provisions of the ceasefire agreement in Minsk.
Announced a whole series of non-lethal equipment, night vision goggles, body armour, which we have already said that we would give to Ukraine. Over the course of the next month, we're going to be deploying British service personnel to provide advice and a range of training, from tactical intelligence to logistics to medical care, which is something else that they have asked for. And we'll also be developing an infantry training program with Ukraine to improve the durability of their forces.
Well, let's take a look now at some of the other international stories in our World Wrap. At least 26 people were killed when suicide bombers blew up 2 bus stations in northern Nigeria on Tuesday. In the first, a suicide bomber rushed onto a bus before setting off a blast that killed 16 people. In the second attack, 2 suicide bombers in a car struck a major bus station in Kano, killing at least 10 people. President Goodluck Jonathan blamed Boko Haram for the attacks. A French woman working on a World Bank project was kidnapped yesterday along with her Yemeni translator in front of a ministry office in Yemen, Sana'a. The unidentified gunmen intercepted their vehicle and took them to an unknown location. Yemeni officials said that Al-Qaeda was likely to be responsible for the abductions. The French president said that their government was ready and mobilized to find them. At least 50 people were injured, several of them critically, after a commuter train and a truck collided near Los Angeles. The collision happened at a level crossing as the truck turned onto the tracks and stopped. It caught fire after the collision. The truck driver left the scene of the crash and was unhurt. Well, that's it on this edition of the Breakfast News. Have a nice day.